Hey, what's happening, everybody? It's Matthew back once again. We are continuing the my favorite WWF Hasbro tournament. This is the first episode for Series 3, and looks like I'm gonna have about 5 matchups here. Because I have one custom, so it's gonna be one original and one custom. Once again, the last matchup will be a 3-man matchup, just so that after each series I can have an even number of competitions. And I'll probably end up doing that throughout the tournament, just to make sure everything's even. And once you get to the finals, the semifinals, finals, so on, you're still gonna have that 4-man semifinals, 2-man finals, etc. Just so we don't have to run into a situation like we did with the last LJN tournament, where we ended up with 5 figures in the semifinals and then 3 in the finals. So per usual, we're just gonna dive right into the next set of matchups. The first one is quite possibly the greatest Hasbro figure of all time. I believe I had this one listed at number 2 on my list. But again, this is possibly the greatest wrestling figure, let alone just simply Hasbro. It is the Series 3 Ultimate Warrior. This, as I said, is possibly one of the most perfect wrestling figures you will ever find. And it all starts with fighting pose. The way that his arms are situated are absolutely fantastic. He has a good action, Let's see. Kind of like what the $1 Million Man and a gazillion other figures do. They have that little one-arm uppercut punch, which is awesome. And with like Series 2 $1 Million Man, that little leg stomp thing he does with his feet. Aesthetically, as far as paint job, facial paint, absolutely amazing. The overall display of the figure, color-wise throughout, absolute perfection. There's just no other way to describe the Ultimate Warrior figure from Series 3. The only difficulty about this particular matchup, coming from a man named Stan, I believe his eBay title was Stan's STR something like that. I bought a number of customs from him, mostly accessories, but also the Ultimate Warrior custom figure, which is very reminiscent of the 1991 Royal Rumble. He came to battle in this color scheme, the American colors, and of course famously lost his match to Sergeant Slaughter, where he dropped the famous purple belt in a matchup that saw Queen Sherry earlier in the day kind of like flirt with him and try to get him to take his matchup and square off against Macho King. He spurned her, of course. Later on during the match between Warrior and Sergeant Slaughter, Macho Man comes out, he attacks the man, trips on him after attacking him with like a light switch. Later on, bashes his scepter over his head. He's passed out. Sergeant Slaughter pins him. Bam, new champion. Of course, it did set up the whole WrestleMania event where Hulk Hogan and Sergeant Slaughter squared off, and of course Hogan was able to recapture the belt. But to me, another absolutely perfect figure. The only issue with this custom is this right here. It's nothing more than a statue. It's an immovable object, essentially. They don't have movable joints or anything. As I said, it's stationary. Absolutely gorgeous. Look at some of the designs. Probably should have taken off the belt. Now this is a foam belt. The thing with this belt being foam is that it's foam all around. I actually don't mind these belts here. These are actually pretty decent. Now it's like the little stickers where they laminate the front part and then the inside of the actual belt is made out of foam. I'm not a fan of those. They got those little sticky pads on the side and little Velcro, and it just doesn't stick. Not long term. But these belts with foam all around, the entire belt's foam, I'm okay with that one. When I purchased this figure, I kind of thought the same thing then when I was reviewing the figure, the same way I feel now. You had one of the most perfect action figures ever made. It did not need to be customized. It did not need to be repainted. It just did not need to be redone whatsoever. This was already a premier figure. They did come out with a perfect figure. I mean, don't get me wrong, this is a perfect complement. Color throughout. Again, I think if I were just picking, names out of a hat or something, and there's a very good opportunity that these two could have been the last two standing. That's how good they both are. Even though I'm sure a lot of people are screaming for the custom figure in this battle because it's such a fantastic figure, I am sticking with the original. Now, there's obviously a multitude of reasons. One, original, that obviously is a bonus for me. The fact that it actually moves is, obviously huge. And it's just, again, it's just, to me, a unique. I don't remember this color scheme. That's why, to me, it's unfamiliar, it's unique, and I love it. Whereas I can remember this, so that gives it credit, but not so unique because it's been customized a lot with this color scheme. The original Ultimate Warrior will defeat the custom Ultimate Warrior for the first matchup of Series 3. So we'll put these guys back in their little protective cases here. The next matchup is going to feature possibly, in my opinion, the best version of Hulk Hogan. So, Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, Macho Man. They have all three figures in each of the first three series. And then Macho Man and Hulk Hogan, they're out of Series 4. Ultimate Warrior is out of Series 4. But Macho Man and Hulk Hogan come back for Series 5. So, Hulk Hogan and Macho Man, obviously the two most tenured figures of the Hasbro line. Again, to me, this is the best of the Hogan figures, no doubt. The arm press from Series 1 is obviously, something that I grew up with. It's something I had as a kid. So looking at the figures here, I did not have a single figure from Series 3. So, I had a ton from Series 1, a ton from Series 2, a few more from Series 4. That's it. Nothing from Series 3, nothing from Series 5 onward. Everything about this figure, again, is just absolutely fantastic. Very reminiscent to the Series 2 Bear Hug Hogan. So imagine if these arms were just inward. This would be... I actually got a perfect example. Now imagine you had the Hulk Hogan Bear Hug in Series 2. And then you had this figure, right? Now imagine that this is the Bear Hug. You squeeze the legs and then the arms pop out. That is exactly what would have made the Series 2 Hulk Hogan perfect. Although, me personally, if I was the designer and I had those capabilities, I would have the arms up, and somehow when you squeeze the legs, that the arms would close as a bear hug, as opposed to open. Now, that's doing things in reverse, so it probably wouldn't work as well or as easily, but still. Hogan does have a stiff competitor, and it is Koko B. Ware. I really enjoy the Koko B. Ware figures from both LJN and Hasbro. Yeah, he's got the little jacket pants, designed for the with the sunglasses for LJN. But he's back with the sunglasses with the Hasbro, still in pants. That's okay, different color scheme. No jacket or clothing. It's still ring attire, or fighting attire. It's not coming to the ring clothing, which again I'm okay either way. This is a really good figure. I haven't been bringing out the accessories, as I've always said. The accessories a lot of the time really put figures over the top. The one downside of the figure, it's the usual, and it's the fused legs, and they got the little action in the back where you squeeze it, it pops up, and they jump up and do their thing. Koko B. Ware, sure, I get it. It works for the figure. Now, Owen Hart and Jim Neidhart as the New Hart Foundation, which was fine. I don't even remember who these guys, what their name was. I mean, it's been such a long time, and I guess such a forgettable pairing. Coco Beware, he's not quite your jobber wrestler, but I would never really classify him as your superstar. He's someone that would come into like a Royal Rumble. I think it was the 1990 Rumble, and basically get eliminated immediately by Ted DiBiase. So it's something that's, he's not even a long-term champion type of deal. Still, he does have some amazing figures, so I'm always impressed by that aspect. The next matchup is going to feature both one of my favorite bad guys, and at one point he was a good guy, of course, Sergeant Slaughter. When they did the whole heel turn, Iraqi sympathizer deal, it's so stupid. That, to me, even as a kid, made no sense. I mean, this is your American hero in wrestling, essentially. Like your Corporal Kirshner, who kind of replaced Sergeant Slaughter as your American soldier type deal. Sergeant Slaughter just has an absolutely beautiful figure. I mean, this is absolutely phenomenal. Fox of Fury actually recommended a series where I review some of my favorite figures, basic different toy lines for a particular character, and Sergeant Slaughter has some of the most amazing figures. I think when I first start off, I'm going to start off with some of my favorite characters first, but yeah, I am looking forward to doing that because this is one of those figures that I think would rate very high. I think most Hasbro figures would probably be number one on my list anyways. Not simply due for nostalgic reasons, but because their figures are absolutely amazing. Another thing I kind of dislike, guys, I really wish I could do these videos in front of my primary Hasbro display case, but because of the two cases, the way that I have them situated, there really wouldn't be any room to actually visually see the background. So every video I try to move the camera around to different locations. Hopefully this is enough. So Sergeant Slaughter, and in this matchup, one of my most hated bad guys, but one of my favorite good guys too. So he could really do no wrong. He played both roles to perfection, and it is going to be none other than Mr. Perfect. So I believe Mr. Perfect, I think maybe Crush, if I'm not mistaken, Scott Steiner. Like I said, they kind of reuse the same figure over and over again. Same thing with Series 8, Mr. Perfect. They just changed the yellow to a black and blue version. So it was black and yellow, blue and yellow. So the front part was all blue, and then the back part was yellow, the upper part of the shirt. Still an absolutely fantastic figure, and I just wish I had these figures as a kid. I would have so much more nostalgia of reasons to covet these figures. This one is a difficult choice because you are looking at two favorites, good guys or bad guys, it doesn't matter. The figures are absolutely amazing, very playable, good poses. Fighting wise, I think Mr. Perfect is a little bit better. And again, a lot of these figures, they come with these little finger pointing things, which I absolutely despise. I don't know why LJN and Hasbro have done that so often, where so many of their figures have, the index finger pointed out. But I am going with history on this one, and someone I'm more familiar with, who I've been familiar with longer, was the Sergeant Slaughter character, and I do believe that his figure aesthetically is far superior, and I do like it, the fighting pose, just a little bit better. As with Mr. Perfect, you have one arm way out there with another arm a little bit inward, so at least the Sergeant Slaughter pose is a little bit more even. So Sergeant Slaughter defeats Mr. Perfect. Alright, so this is going to be a fun matchup. The next battle is going to feature the Dream Team. Brutus Beefcake and Greg the Hammer Valentine. So, Brutus Beefcake from Series 1, as I mentioned, in my opinion, one of the worst action figures ever. And it's not a bad figure. It's just, when you look at a lot of the different lines, you look at the different displays of the figures, colors, fighting pose and all that. There's a lot of things to dislike about the Brutus Beefcake figure, but I mean, it was one I had as a kid, the Series 1 version, so it's not as bad as I make it out to be. It's just, it's not my favorite among a lot of the figures I own. They kept the same face, the same head mold for the Brutus Beefcake in Series 3, but they changed the overall body, and it is one of the most pristine Hasbro figures of the entire line. Again, not a top 10 on my list, but I mean, I don't see any reason why this couldn't be a top 15. At an absolute worst, a top 20 figure. The shears, change it up from the little orange to black, which is pretty impressive. Which, definitely matches with the zebra pants design a whole lot better. And just a really fantastic figure, one I absolutely adore. Greg Valentine, just like the LJN version, very simple figure. With the LJN, they had black knee pads, boots, black trunks. Now, these figures, as I mentioned, these are all duplicates, so none of these are part of my primary display. But generally, you would have in yellow writing the hammer. And, I mean, it's still readable, but it's faded. Another thing I really enjoyed about this figure, they changed up the boots from black to yellow from LJN to Hasbro. They also throw this little leg brace on there, which is pretty awesome. He was famous for wearing that, which is pretty remarkable that they added that. Not an accessory, but not a removable accessory, I should say. So, many times I've talked about the one arm, or the right extended arm, which I don't like. I'm not a fan of that. And reason being, a lot of time the little screw in here becomes loose, and the arm is just very floppy, and I don't like that. It's very loose. It's not nice and tight. The only positive, well, there's a few positives I do like about that. One, you have an absolutely perfect clothesline. That's fantastic. You can bring your arm in and do a fantastic punch, and you do have a solid under and both left and right arm under body slam pose. So there are a lot of things to really enjoy about the Greg Valentine figure. Is Greg Valentine going to be good enough to defeat Brutus Beefcake? No. Top 20 figure at least. This is probably hovering more mid-area, 40s, 50s possibly. Maybe higher. I mean, again, I'm estimating to the best I can. I don't know exactly where I'd rate these figures on a list of 1 to 92, etc. But Brutus Beefcake, once again, defeats Greg Valentine. Now, another figure that comes with the extended right arm is the Series 3 Macho Man. So, remember from Series 2, Macho King is the exact same figure. The only difference is, again, it says Macho King on the back, where Series 3 says Macho Man. And of course, Macho King came with the crown and the scepter. Now, in my primary display, I do put the crown and scepter on both the Series 2 and Series 3 figure, regardless. So Macho Man, I mean, this is generally like a $50 to $60 figure, sometimes even as high as $75. So every time I see this on auction, I always buy it up. So I've got like several of these guys. And like I always said, it's always so difficult to buy them the first time around. It's like once you buy that first figure, whether you pay more or less for the follow-up figures, you're always, it's so much easier to acquire them. And I've got a number of these. So this is going to be the third opportunity now for Macho Man to move forward. Hulk Hogan Series 1 defeated Macho Man. In Series 2, you get a three-way matchup, and who was it? Dusty Rhodes. He defeated both Ultimate Warrior and Macho Man, if I'm not mistaken. Let me go back. Yep, Macho King and Ultimate Warrior defeated by Dusty Rhodes in Series 2. So, is it going to be 3 for 3 in eliminating Macho Man in this tournament in round 1? He is going against a really good Texas Tornado figure. So, Texas Tornado and Tatanka are the only two figures that have not just one, but two extended arms. And for this figure, he kind of does a little spin around thing, punch someone, knock him over, bam, kind of like a finisher. So I like that little body twist. You really knock someone over. So I think that's pretty awesome. And like I said, he could, if you're wrestling this as a kid and you're in like a tag team or something, and you've got two guys up, you're playing with it, bam, you could do a double clothesline, which is, awesome. Either arm clothesline, either arm punch, bring those hands in, still do a body slam. You could do so much with the Texas Tornado figure. And, the color scheme overall is relatively simple. Just simply a red and white figure. Still a very good figure, but is it good enough to defeat Macho Man in this competition or in this round? Fighting attributes, he has a few more that I really enjoy, so you would think the answer is yes, and it could be, but it's not. Finally, I am going to be able to push Macho Man forward. I just it's not the double arm, but that, stationary arm is, to me, is a little bit better. Much better for a body slamming pose. Here, when you actually look at this, you don't get a perfect body slam pose. At least with the left arm, you do get that absolutely perfect slam going on there. So we know how I am about my poses, and most importantly, the body slam pose. So yeah, to me, not an easy answer, but I think it's the right one. Macho Man defeats Texas Tornado. So, because we have an uneven number here in round 3, we are going to look at another 3-man competition to close out the video. And I'm really excited that I was able to get all these battles in one matchup, or in one video, because the way that it was going, I was honestly believing it was going to take 2 videos per series. And at that rate, you're looking at 22 videos just for the first round. So there's still the potential to see this competition go 30, 40, 50 videos, but hopefully it doesn't come to that. So the first one we're looking at is Big Boss Man. Big Boss Man from Series 1 on my list of least favorite Hasbro figures. Big Boss Man from Series 3 on my list of top 10 best Hasbro action figures. I think this one was like number 8 on my list, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe number 10. I don't remember. And again, it just overall proportion is absolutely perfect. Now, obviously, this is a more slimmed down version that you would find in the early 90s as opposed to late 80s, where he was much heavier. So the leg display, the way that they're separated, the thinness, the proportion to the head to the body. The arm pose, again, it has that one arm extended, which I'm not a huge fan of. But with this, I really like this because, I don't know, I think with the nightclub, it really does a much better job of, utilizing the weapon in a matchup. Never had these seriously as a kid, as I mentioned, but just an overall perfect figure. Absolutely love it. And, there's not so much more you could say about this that you haven't already said about the other figures with the one arm. And, again, when you look at it, they're just identical figures. With the right arm, left leg out and kind of bent right arm or right leg back with a slight bend in the knee. Arm positioning of the hands, great. Right arm extended. Hasbro does that for, again, 99% of Hasbro figures are just recycled. So, absolutely fantastic. In this matchup, it's not an easy competition whatsoever. Because for part of this 3-man battle, it's going to feature Boss Man, but you're also going up against the natural disasters. So, Earthquake, one of my favorite big guys. And he just has an absolutely beautiful design. The blue Earthquake, obviously, I'm much more familiar with than the black and red version. Kind of like a little shark teeth or whatnot that's going through here. I mean, it's like a, what's that called? That monitors the Earthquake. So he actually had like a little shark design. I don't know if that was WCW days or if that was WWF days, but just a beautiful design. I really like it. Just overall positive. Again, so many figures have this body shape. You know, Bam Bam Bigelow, obviously, both of the Natural Disaster figures. I'm trying to think off the top of my head who else has this body pose. That might be it, but I think there might be one more. Typhoon, I like the little tidal wave, again, obviously, on his singlet here. Overall design of the figures, just, you know, pretty much identical for the most part. These figures, they're not the best in, you know, being able to stand on their own. You do kind of have to, like, severely extend their legs to kind of, like, so basically extend one leg and kind of, like, push their body back in order to try and balance them. So they're not necessarily have to be leaned up against other wrestlers or leaned up against the glass or anything, but ooh, I want to do at least one-on-one here and then kind of choose. I think I'm gonna go with Earthquake. One, I like the color better. I think I enjoy Earthquake as a wrestler a little bit better than Typhoon. I think he was more dominant, but seeing these guys as tag team champions, how were they ever defeated? They were just monstrosities. Absolutely loved them. Obviously used to be a good guy. Tugboat, much better as Typhoon, and teaming with Earthquake, I think they were a perfect tandem. So essentially, Earthquake defeats Typhoon, so it comes down to Boss Man and Earthquake. I'm not gonna, with a video hovering around 30 minutes, I'm not gonna dwell on this for too long. I think the answer is clear. Once again, Big Boss Man is going to move on to round 2, defeating the Natural Disasters and Earthquake in the final matchup. So, I like to recap. I'm not going to read off who defeated who. I'm just going to give who's in who's in round 2 thus far. The Gray Custom $1 Million Man, the Fire Color Jake Roberts Custom, SWAT Vest Big Boss Man, the LJN Color Scheme Bruce Beefcake, the Pink Pants Rick Rude Custom, the Original Smash, the Custom Axe, the Pink and Green Custom Warrior, the Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant from Series 1. In Series 2, we got the teal or light blue Honky Tonk Man Custom, the Jim Duggan with kind of like a Series 9 version color scheme for Series 2, the Roddy Piper Custom, the Crush, the $1 Million Man, Luke, let's see. Alright, so we have the Royal Rumble color scheme, Rocker Customs, both move forward, and Dusty Rhodes. In this video, we saw Ultimate Warrior defeat his custom. Hulk Hogan defeated Coco Beware. Sergeant Slaughter versus Mr. Perfect. Sergeant Slaughter took that. Beefcake faced Greg Valentine. Bruce Beefcake won. Let's see. Macho Man defeated Texas Tornado. And Big Boss Man squared off against the Natural Disasters and won that competition. So, once again, I got the computer down here. You know me. I like to make a lot of videos simultaneously, so I have things in queue. So I'm going to stay down here again to make videos for possibly in Series 5. Again, it depends if Series 4 can be done in one video or not. Alright. Per usual, I just want to stop by, by thanking everyone for watching. I truly appreciate all your support. And let me know what you guys think. I will talk to you in the comments. Goodbye for now.